Bombshell after bombshell today. Bombshell number one, Donald Trump's handpicked Republican nominee for governor of North Carolina, embroiled in scandal. CNN broke a major story. We'll break it all down. Bombshell number two, Donald Trump down in the polls and down in some polls. Very, very big. Bombshell number three, Ted Cruz down in the morning consult poll in Texas. Is Florida, Texas in play? We'll break it down. The next bombshell, Donald Trump gives a humiliating campaign event in New York. He claims he's going to flip New York red, entirely unhinged. We'll break it down. Also, going down, interest rates dropping 50 basis points. The stock market, meanwhile, going the opposite direction, record highs, that is. Meanwhile, the Trump stock going in the opposite direction of that. The Trump stock is tanking, folks. We'll break it all down here on the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas here with Brett and Jordy. Before the introduction of Brett and Jordy, let's do something a little bit atypical. First, showing you the video clip of Donald Trump repeatedly praising Mark Robinson, who's now embroiled in scandal. Let's play the clip.
Mark Robinson, he's out there, he's fighting.
A very good man.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids. I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King times two.
I think he's going to go down as one of the great leaders in our country. I've been with him a lot. I've gotten to know him, and he's outstanding. He's outstanding in presentation, but he's probably even more outstanding in heart. Somebody that we have to be very, very careful. We have to cherish. We have to cherish Mark. He's a star. You have to cherish him. Amen. It's like a fine wine, because that's what you have. You have a fine wine. He's an outstanding person. I've gotten to know him so well and fairly quickly.
Now, at the time Donald Trump was saying those things, before the story broke today, which, Brett, I want you to talk to us about, can I please show the Meidas Mighty what we did know about Mark Robinson and what we were reporting on here at the MeidasTouch Network? For years, we've been reporting on this guy who's the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. We were raising the red flag. Mark Robinson here is talking about killing them all. Listen to what he says. Play it.
You know, it was a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield, and guess what we did to it? We killed it. We didn't quibble about it. We didn't argue about it. We didn't fight about it. We killed it. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, what did we do? We flew to Japan, and we killed the Japanese Army and Navy. We didn't even quibble about it. I didn't start this fight. You did. You wanted to be left alone. You should have left me alone. We didn't argue and capitulate and talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't fight the Nazis that hard. No, they're bad. Kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity. We have wicked people doing wicked things, torturing and murdering and raping. It's time to call out those guys in green and go have them handled. Or those boys in blue and have them go handle it. We need to start handling our business again because, guys, what I said at the beginning.
So endorsing political violence, if you want to know who he's talking about, is like talking about people who don't agree with his politics, among other people. Here he is saying he wants to go back to a time in America where women couldn't vote. Play this clip.
I would say to him, if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back to the America where women couldn't vote.
And then finally, at the time Donald Trump recorded those various endorsements, strong, as Donald Trump would say, strong and powerful endorsements, here's the kind of aggregated video of the types of things that Mark Robinson was saying. This is from the Democratic governor's ad. Play it.
Abortion is a scourge that needs to be run out of this land.
It's not your body anymore. It's y'all's body. And yes, that includes the daddy.
So many things were lost during the civil rights movement. So many freedoms were lost during the civil rights movement that shouldn't have been lost.
I'd love to pass a law that restricts abortion. We could pass a bill saying you can't have an abortion in North Carolina for any reason.
This little minor thing happens in January. Says, oh, why is it horrible?
If there's a movement in this country that is demonic and that is full of the spirit of Antichrist, it is the transgender movement. Homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth. Abortion is a scourge that needs to be run out of this land.
Brett and Jordy, I welcome you to the show on the breaking news that the past social media posts of Mark Robinson have been revealed showing an affinity for transgender pornography. Quote, this is what Mark Robinson said. He said he likes to watch tranny on girl porn. That's effing hot. It takes the man out while leaving the man in. And yeah, I'm a perv too, he says in these posts. Now, he denies making those posts, although CNN traced it to an account that certainly appears to be his. He also talked about being a peeping Tom and doing things to himself while peeping on naked women as well. That's the breaking news before the show. Brett, Jordy, welcome to another day of bombshells in our political landscape.
Another day of bombshells, but I'd like to say it's unusual, but it's like another day in the life of MAGA Republicans. I mean, like you said, Ben, this was already kind of brewing with all those past statements with Mark Robinson, while Donald Trump was comparing Mark Robinson, not only comparing Mark Robinson to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but saying he's better than Martin Luther King Jr. Those comments that Robinson had said were already out there. All those things were already out there, that women shouldn't vote, that you should kill your political enemies. Donald Trump knows who this guy is. And I guess the only reason why Donald Trump likes him is because Mark Robinson is a MAGA extremist who also happens to praise Donald Trump. And Donald Trump likes any extremist who praises him and tells him how great he is. So he's been hitting the campaign trail. We criticized him for even being on the campaign trail with this guy because we knew all this stuff existed. And now this incredible report, got to give a hat tip to K-File over at CNN for great reporting here. He dug up this username, and the username was Mini Soldier. And it's been revealed that this is Mark Robinson's username that he used on a whole variety of sites, including Adult Friend Finder, by the way, which we are now finding out as well, which is a site for married people to have affairs. He was on the site called Nude Africa between 2008 and 2012, and that's where a lot of these comments were found. And some of these comments, he called himself a black Nazi. That's how he described himself. He is a African-American man. He said he supports slavery. He said some people should, in fact, be slaves. Like Ben said, while being an anti-trans activist, he admitted he had an affinity for transgender porn, and the list goes on and on and on. And I bet this is just the beginning, too, of what we're going to find out about Mark Robinson here. Donald Trump has tied himself so closely to Mark Robinson, and Mark Robinson has tied himself so closely to Donald Trump, North Carolina being one of the biggest swing states out there that could flip to the Dems. This makes the race that much closer and that much more likely that Kamala Harris may be able to pull ahead here in the November elections, because this race was close to begin with. Robinson had already been trailing like 10 plus points behind his opponent in the race for governor. And now we have this very close race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump with this massive drag on the ticket. Mark Robinson, another in a long line of Republican MAGA hypocrites who say one thing and do the opposite and want to harm your family while they do all their crazy stuff. Jordy, how do you feel about everything and what's new?
I mean, just another day, but another day in MAGA feels like a year. I mean, this is bonkers. Mark Robinson, what we can't forget here is how Trump has tied himself to Mark Robinson as well. The compliments that Trump was giving Mark Robinson are the strangest compliments in the world. He's Martin Luther King ×2. He's like a fine wine. Like, this is just weird things to say about another person in general, but
regardless, right, Jordy? Like even if none of these other clips existed, saying he's like Martin Luther King on steroids is a weird thing to say.
Yes. Brett, to your point, sorry, Jordy. Even if they're like an incredibly great guy, like who does everything right, and is worthy of praise, to be like, that's Martin Luther King ×2, everybody.
Yeah, it's like, dude, what are you talking about?
Just don't say that, man. And to your point, Brett, this is just the beginning. Look, if you're out there, I'm not going to get into anyone like what they do online. If you're commenting, on porn sites using a username that's very easily traced back to you, you got some skeletons in your closet. I'm just going to put that out there. Ben, where are we going next?
Well, let's say what Fox is doing right here. How is Fox dealing with all of this? Here's what Fox had to say. Let's play the clip.
And what's a really interesting state in there? North Carolina, which is a big target for the Democrats. And we just found out an hour ago that the lieutenant governor there, Mark Robinson, who's running for governor,
never heard of him,
who Donald Trump called Martin Luther King on steroids, posted on a porn forum called Nude Africa that he's a black Nazi, expressed support for reinstating slavery, and detailed his sexual arousal from memories of peeping on women in public gyms, and he still fantasizes about it. He also has an Ashley Madison account.
How dare you kink shame?
Sure. That's a great reaction. So Josh Stein was likely to win that race anyway. If they get Mark Robinson to drop out, his name is still on the ballot. But this makes North Carolina even more in play for Democrats. And this, again, is evidence of the type of candidates that Donald Trump thinks are good for the country. Martin Luther King on steroids, someone who says he's a black Nazi.
But he would obviously.
But what?
Let's take the obvious here. Yeah. Do you think Trump actually knew this guy was on porn sites?
My point is that Donald Trump likes anyone who likes him, and he doesn't bother to do the work.
That's called being human.
No, it's not. A lot of people like me who I don't like in return.
Like who?
Tell us now.
Go ahead. Let's start with Fox and Friends.
Yeah. Poor Gil.
All right, Jessica. Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
I didn't interrupt. I just want to let that be known. Greg interrupted on my behalf.
The king shaming was kind of funny.
I will be going to Nude Africa in the break to see if that's true.
By the way, Jesse Waters and some of these Fox hosts who now claim that they don't know anything about this guy, here it is right here. They would advertise him as part of the black voters breaking up with Biden segments that they would always run. Kind of similarly, you may recall when Donald Trump would hold those events in the Bronx and other places, and to try to showcase that he had support of the black community. Remember, he called up in the Bronx like two individuals who had recently been indicted, and in the indictment, the allegations were that they were members of the Crips who engaged in at least a dozen attempted murders, as well as one actual murder as part of being the leaders of the Crips. And Donald Trump brought them on stage in the Bronx and then said, "I really love your grill. I love the way your teeth look right there." Here's the thing, too, about that CNN show, and I've talked about it before, The Five. I think Jessica Tarlov does on Fox. Sorry. I think she does. And it's hard to distinguish it sometimes these days. But when CNN does their investigative reporting, they do a very good job, though. And that was actually a very good report that they did on the K-File. Jessica Tarlov is a great host. She's a great panelist, rather. But you notice when she's just trying to bring out facts and data, what happens immediately. The other four basically kind of gang up. They all laugh and they mock a very legitimate talking point. That's not a talking point, but it's the facts. What are you talking about? He never know, And so, as I've always said, I think part of the psyop, if you will, of the show, part of the plan of that show is to basically make her viewpoint, a very fact-based database viewpoint, look problematic. And here's how you, at home, when you have someone who's giving the facts, here's how you mock that. Like, that's one of the things that I think that show tries to, reinforce. But the reality is, if you were fact-based and data-based, you would basically say, well, guess what? Donald Trump knew all of these things before. And, whether the person was Googling porn or not Googling porn, that's not really, to me, what this is about. This is someone who's been very much about taking away your freedoms, who's been violently anti-trans, who's calling for violence against human beings, who very privately lives a very different lifestyle than what he wants to use government to try to go into your house and take away your freedoms. That, to me, was about. But remember what we were talking about last week. Laura Loomer, 9/11 conspiracy theorist, says it's an inside job. Trump brings her to a 9/11 memorial. And here, play this clip of Laura Loomer from her show, and I could show you dozens of these clips. Don't worry, I don't want you to have to like go crazy seeing more Laura Loomer clips, but she's the one who also said that the White House will smell like curry if Vice President Kamala Harris wins. She said that Vice President Kamala Harris is a whore who gives blowjobs. She goes on to say that Vice President Kamala Harris is not really black. And Donald Trump reposts a lot of that stuff. And Trump has repeatedly praised Laura Loomer. I'm not going to play the clip here, but we've posted it before on social media. The same type of clip we have there of Donald Trump praising over and over again Mark Robinson. There's a whole video montage we have of him saying the exact same things about Laura Loomer. And here's what she said last week, that she really gets upset at Vice President Kamala Harris and Fani Willis and Letitia James for using their Shaniqua voices. She says, here, play this clip.
Like the way they talk and their little DEI Shaniqua voices, and it's just very piercing, very irritating sound. They all have the same voice. I'm talking about Kamala Harris, Letitia James, and Fani Willis. Like all of the like meritless DEI Shaniquas talk the same way. It's very obnoxious the way that they talk.
Donald Trump knows that she says things like that. Donald Trump knows that Mark Robinson says things like that. Donald Trump invites over neo-Nazis to Mar-a-Lago. But just take even a look at, the top leadership of the kind of GOP. Take a look at Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the types of things that she says frequently. And I'll just go to the past 24, 48 hours. So here she is in Uniondale. And she's in Long Island, where Donald Trump's holding a campaign rally for whatever reason in Long Island. He says he wants to flip Long Island and flip New York red, and he thinks he's going to win New York. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders says that Vice President Kamala Harris can't be humble because she doesn't have biological children. Here, play this clip.
As my eyes fill with tears, my sweet daughter reaches up, pats my shoulder, and says, "It's okay, Mommy. One day you can be pretty too." So my kids keep me humble. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble.
And those statements echo what J.D. Vance says, where he attacks childless cat ladies. He attacks women who don't have biological children. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been on many, many, many congressional hearings where she attacks women who don't have biological children or parents who either adopt or who have blended families. And Vice President Kamala Harris has a blended family, and she has children. And it's the children that are children with her and with her husband. The children were born in a prior relationship between her husband and her husband's prior wife. But it's a blended family, and she's a parent, and just whether you're a parent or not a parent, these attacks on deeply personal issues to me just also show what the broader issue here is. And again, it's not the Googling of the porn. It's not that Mark Robinson likes transgender porn. If Mark Robinson likes transgender porn, if he likes porno, whatever, like he can like that stuff. It's fine. The issue is that they then want government to attack people for those beliefs and to attack people who live their lives a certain way, who were born this way, who were born certain ways. And that is the broader issue, that this Republican Party is not a small government party. They are not. They are the biggest government. They want government in your doctor's offices, your bedrooms, looking all around. And then in their private lives, they're doing the things that they're attacking over and over again. And we see that with the J.D. Vances and all. It just repeats over. That's the issue, Brett, Jordy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the reality of MAGA Republicans. They're attacking families. They spread dangerous lies, inciting chaos. It's not some sort of unfortunate side effect that we're seeing. It's a core strategy. It's a feature. It's not a bug. I think the cruelty is deliberate, and it's something that has been modeled upon Donald Trump. They go after anyone who dares to stand against them. They mock the vulnerable. They push all these conspiracies. They put people's lives at risk, all while they wear this cloak of so-called patriotism. I mean, give me a goddamn break here. Their whole ideology is just attached to this warped like fear and division that they continue to spread every single day. And Ben, your point I think is astute, which is do whatever you want, right? Like Tim Wall says, mind your own damn business though. Okay. Like go watch whatever kind of porn you want, do whatever you want. Don't tell someone else how to live their lives. Don't try to create legislation to criminalize their behavior, which is not really all that different from your own behavior and things that you're into in private. Mark Robinson also, he had to come out a few weeks back. I think it was like a few weeks back, admitting that he and his wife had an abortion. Like in the late 80s or early 90s or something like that. This is a guy who you heard his statements before on the clip we played, who is vehemently against abortions, looks down on anybody who has to get an abortion, who has to get that sort of
down, would want to potentially
punish and kill and throw in prison. And this is the kind of person that we're dealing with. And, you know, that's why we always say on the show, and I know like they're probably like, Brett, you say, we get it. But it's just true. And it's worth hammering home that none of this stuff is about like Democrat or Republican or independent or moderate. It really is not. This is about like being decent human beings and actually wanting to put in the work to help people. And there can be disagreements within that, but this is not just a little disagreement. And seeing Fox and Jesse Waters and that stupid show, The Five, try to minimize it and downplay it, like they would never, ever, ever let this go if it was a Democrat. Meanwhile, like every single day, you have a story about a Republican who is usually rewarded and uplifted by people like Donald Trump and by Fox.
I see a lot of comments asking me about the baby. I want everybody to know that both my wife and our baby, which is still in her belly, are both doing very well. Baby girl and my wife Sochi are doing very, very well. We showed up a little early. The plan was to be there on Monday, and we spent 3 days in the hospital. But as I've learned, and as many of you have shared with me, privately or in messages, sometimes the baby's just not ready yet. And so baby's healthy, mom's healthy. But after 3, very long days, the hospital suggested that we go back home. And we wait here. So that's what we're doing. Any moment we could be going back to the hospital. But again, I just wanted to address that because I appreciate all of your wishes. And I just want to say that my wife, Sochi, so strong, so courageous. And I just have so much, I can't even express in words the respect I have for her and all of women who go through this and go through all of this. It is to watch this is, something that, I'll never forget, but I'm just so in awe of her courage. But thank you, everybody, for your well wishes. We'll be right back after this first quick break.
If you make coffee at home, get ready to discover how much better it can be with Trade. As America's #1 specialty coffee marketplace, Trade doesn't make any of its own coffees. Instead, they bring together top independent roasters from small towns across the USA, places you would love if you lived nearby, and curate the best of the best for you to enjoy at home. As summer winds down and I'm getting back into a regular routine, having coffee from Trade doesn't just start my day, it makes it better. The beans are always freshly roasted and perfectly matched to my taste, and that's what makes the difference. For me, great coffee starts with quality beans, and that's exactly what I get from Trade. You guys know I take my coffee seriously. I would not put my stamp of approval on just any coffee, and the coffees from Trade are the best of the best. Whether I'm making espresso or drip coffee, Trade has made my at-home coffee experience incredible. And I love that when I subscribe to Trade, I'm supporting small businesses. They partnered with over 50 independent roasters across the country. I've tried some incredible roasts. One of my favorite right now is from a small roaster in California called Steady State. It's so smooth. I look forward to it every single morning. And what I love most is that Trade makes it so easy, delivering the coffee right when I need it, freshly roasted and full of flavor. That's coffee at home made better. Head to drinktrade.com/Meidas to receive your first bag free. That's drinktrade.com/MEIDAS.
So when I'm not covering politics here on the MeidasTouch Network, where do I get my news on issues involving business, climate, entertainment, culture, music? I go to the Washington Post. And one of my favorite things about the Washington Post is I've signed up for their For You newsletter, which sends me my very own personalized roundup of stories every evening based on my interest and reading history. And their Washington Post app makes it easy for me to stay up on the latest news, save and share stories, and follow my favorite authors on all of the topics that I want to have curated for me. That's why I really love the Washington Post. And look, with the election rapidly approaching and with all the issues both here and abroad, now is the time to sign up for the Washington Post. The Washington Post sponsors the MeidasTouch Podcast. So go to WashingtonPost.com/Meidas to subscribe for just 50 cents per week for your first year. That's 80% off their typical offer. So this is truly a steal. Once again, go to WashingtonPost.com/Meidas to subscribe for just 50 cents per week for your first year. Check it out. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. So PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play, even if one of your players gets injured. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I've had the best experience with PrizePicks imaginable, from my winnings to the easy and simple playing experience. PrizePicks truly separates themselves from others in the space in a big way. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code Meidas and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code Meidas, MEIDAS, on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
Shout out to our pro-democracy sponsors, y'all. Incredible reads, guys. Links are in the description of the YouTube and the audio. Let them know we sent you. Use those codes. We work really hard to get these sponsors for you guys, get you guys the best deal. So shout out to the sponsors for helping us out here. Ben, where are we going next?
I guess we're going back to Long Island, brothers, where we grew up.
Ben, we got to specify
on Long Island, Ben. Yeah. I just want to make this clear. We grew up on Long Island. We have Long Island listeners. They're going to think we're not actually from Long Island if you say in Long Island. It's blowing my mind. You've been out in California too long, big bro.
Yeah, Ben, you're on Long Island. You go into the city. You're on Long Island. Yeah.
Were we doing a Seinfeld skit now?
Yeah.
All right, let me get into Trump's speech on Long Island.
On Long Island.
Thank you.
On the island. Donald Trump talking about Springfield, Ohio, spreading more deranged conspiracies, saying that he's going to deport Haitian migrants who, again, the Haitians are they're there legally in Springfield, Ohio. They were begged to be there by Springfield, Ohio, to work jobs that needed to be worked. They have helped the economy of Springfield, Ohio. There's also about 2,000 to 3,000, certainly nowhere near 30,000 or 35,000 that's being spread by Donald Trump and all of these MAGAs. But here on Long Island, what Donald Trump is talking about, Springfield, Ohio. Play the clip.
How about in Springfield, Ohio? They had 32,000. This is a little beautiful town. No crime, no problem. 32,000 illegal immigrants come into the town, 32. So they almost doubled their population in a period of a few weeks. Can you believe it? And you know what? They've got to get much tougher. I'm going to go there in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to Springfield and I'm going to Aurora. You may never see me again, but that's okay. Got to do what I got to do. Whatever happened to Trump? Well, he never got out of Springfield.
to translate the horrifically racist thing that he's saying is Springfield was once a town with white people. And then black people came in and destroyed the town, and I'm going to take away the black people. And if I show up in the town with the black people, I may never return. That's what Donald Trump is saying. That's what his base is taking it at. In fact, Springfield, Ohio, as I mentioned before, was a town that was struggling with opioid abuse. Lots of the people there were leaving, and the Haitian migrants who were there with legal protected status have been hugely helpful. These are incredibly hardworking people who are beloved in the community. And this is the type of people who Donald Trump is attacking while on Long Island in New York, causing City Hall to shut down, causing their cultural festivals to shut down, elementary schools, colleges, hospitals, all receiving terroristic threats as a result of rhetoric like this. It's important to note that even the original person who spread a racist meme about Springfield, Ohio, a lady who did this months ago, not thinking this was going to become a presidential issue, has actually apologized and said that I was lying about this. I made this up, and I'm sorry. I never thought it was going to be used by the leaders of the Republican Party. At least the person who admits that they were being racist had the guts to apologize for it. But Donald Trump and J.D. Vance don't. They've actually expanded it. While communicable diseases are down in Springfield, Ohio, J.D. Vance is now saying diseases through the roof. HIV rates are higher than ever, and continuing to spread this stuff over and over again. And when asked, hey, why don't you just admit it's false? J.D. Vance goes, well, I like to make up stories. I make up stories. I lie so that I can make the points that I want to make to divide Americans and attack our own cities. Just think about the different visions that are here. Trump and J.D. Vance, and this is what we saw when Trump was in office, attack America. Mm-hmm. Vice President Kamala Harris's plans are, okay, let's bring people together and let's make a better America. Going back to this event in Uniondale on Long Island, Donald Trump also says, what the hell do you have to lose? Just what the hell do you have to lose? Here, play this clip.
Vote for Donald Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
Your life, your money, your family. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Brett will talk a little bit later in the show about the economy right now, but the economy now is doing well. There could always be room for improvements, but every metric right now is better now than under Donald Trump. Yet you take a look at Trump stock, Trump media. What the hell do you have to lose? Losing. And when it comes to our country, it's not a crashing stock price. It's a crashing country. And 4 years ago, during Trump lockdowns, there was no toilet paper, no football, mobile morgues on TV with mass graves, no toilet paper. Economy, stock market crashes every single day. That's what you have to lose. NATO, our biggest alliances. That's what you have to lose. Our freedoms. Trump taking away women's reproductive rights. Attacking marginalized communities. That's what you have to lose, our very freedoms. Donald Trump then says he's in New York to win it. He wants to flip a state that he's down by huge amounts. He said that he's going to win New York. That's part of his plan. Play this clip.
And the reason I'm here is because it hasn't been done in many decades. It hasn't been done for a long time, but we are going to win New York.
You know, I think one of the things he's lying, but in his own deranged mind, because I've been unfortunately studying for quite some time, I think he sees himself losing or having major issues in states like Florida and Texas. In fact, a recent Morning Consult poll actually has Ted Cruz losing in Texas right now to his Democratic opponent by 1 point. So Trump is too self-consumed to deal with those facts. So in his own mind, his gotcha is, well, if you're taking those states, I'm going to New York, because he always takes the bait so easily. So Donald, continue to campaign in New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts. You could campaign in California.
Let me just say, can I send a message to Donald Trump? Yeah. You got this, man. You go. You got it. You got New York. You got New Jersey. You're going to win California, man. Put all that money, pump it on in. Let's go. You don't even need the other states. Texas, take that money out. Florida, take that money. North Carolina, don't need it. Georgia, don't need it. Pennsylvania, who needs Pennsylvania? You got New York, man. You're Donald Trump. You're going to win New York. You're going to win California. You're going to win it all. It's going to be awesome. Just pull that money on out of Pennsylvania. Pull it out of Wisconsin, of Michigan. You got to go all in on New York, man. You do you. You do you. You got this, all right?
How about this? How about this? This is why I said it from the beginning, that we were so screwed when Lara Trump started to head up the RNC, that, it's just so dangerous, because she's so strategic and smart, getting in his ear, telling him that he could win New York. I just hope, I hope like the Charlie Kirks of the world don't clip this and show us to Trump, because otherwise we just be totally exposed that Trump.
No, I don't want to help him. Like, just please, Donald, please stop listening to Laura Loomer. Please don't do it. You're going to get us so mad and upset if you do that.
How bizarre is it that there's an entire political candidates who are taking their political cues and policy, decisions from Facebook posts? Are you kidding me?
That's such a good point, because that in and of itself should be disqualifying, right? Like in the best case scenario here, the worst case scenario is what's happening, which is they're freaking liars. They're liars. They spread hate. They want to divide. They take these stories, they spread them. They're disinformation artists. That's all they do. The best case scenario would be that they're just really dumb and that they fall for Facebook conspiracies and then they spread them. Like, that's the best case, in which case you shouldn't be anywhere near Congress. You shouldn't be anywhere near the presidency, the vice presidency, governorship, none of this stuff. But that's what we got with these people. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, every day, I think this week, has spread numerous conspiracy. And this is how she does it, because I noticed how she operates. She will post a story that's completely fake, right? She'll go, ABC whistleblower who said Kamala Harris paid $1 million to have better moderators at the debate died. They existed and then they died in a car crash.
And by the way, for our listeners and viewers, she actually said that.
Yeah, this is a real thing she posted. Breaking! Sources say. All right, it's from like some BS Twitter post that no sources say. It's fake. And then she'll wait a few hours. And then a few hours later, she'll reply, I've just been informed that this information I posted earlier is not true, but still, we must look into the collusion between. It's like, all right, you knew from the beginning, like this is how they spread their crap. And then it goes all over the place. And then it's totally unfettered, because you have people like Elon Musk boosting this stuff and controlling the flow of info on sites like Twitter or whatever. I mean, it's a complete and total mess. But that's, what this whole MAGA thing is based on right now. It goes back to the beginning, Ben, of this is the party of Mark Robinson. This is the party of Laura Loomer, of Donald Trump. They're all cut from the same cloth here.
The fallacy, though, is that, this is all happening right now, right before the election. Look, I'm glad that there are more eyeballs and ears and everything directed at this. But over the past, since the inception of MAGA, even going back to the Tea Party stuff, and you can trace it back even further than that, but rapidly accelerating post January 6th as Trump entrenched the most extremists. Because how do you spread the biggest lie of all, claiming that you won 2020 as one of your main platforms on 2024, unless you're part of the most deranged echo chamber? Like, that's Donald Trump is running in 2024, claiming he won in 2020. And he said that in the debate when he was confronted with, well, you said you lost by a whisker. Oh, I didn't say that. If I said that, I was being sarcastic. So you have to create this deranged base of people who you rely on, who will keep pushing that message out. And also people who, others who may be more rational and normal, are kind of afraid that they're going to be embroiled in just the craziness. So they're just like, whatever, I'm going to go along with it, and then start themselves perpetuating the craziness. So, I almost remember when, in health class, they would tell you, like, you start with like your gateway drugs. Remember, they would say, and then you would progress like up to some of the most serious drugs with the gateway drug. Well, there was kind of like gateway MAGA, right? Like you started with your Marjorie Taylor Greens, but even ended up as it progressed with even more extreme people than Marjorie Taylor Greene, with like Laura Loomer. So the fights between Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene over who's now representing MAGA, whereas Marjorie, forget the what's it called, Brett? The Overton window. Forget the MAGA Overton window. Like this is a whole new thing within MAGA, where now it's the most extreme of the extreme. But we've been covering these people's statements now for years. Mark Robinson's been saying stuff like this for years. That's how, again, to your point, Brett, it's not a glitch. It's not that is why he was tapped by Trump. Laura Loomer's there because she is who she is. Marjorie Taylor Greene's fighting to look more extreme, to try to appeal to Donald Trump.
She's kind of lost her juice, Ben, because Laura Loomer's the new MAGA queen, and she's got all the power right now. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has kind of been brushed aside. Like no one really cares about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's viewed as kind of like a huge loser in the MAGA movement, I think, at this point. Just completely not trusted whatsoever. She backed the wrong horse by putting all of her eggs in the Kevin McCarthy basket, which was just a terrible idea. And now she's just like an afterthought. Like no one really cares about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her shtick just doesn't work. Just boring, But these people, Trump always cycles through these people. If you think to the past, you could go back to 2016 Trump. I remember Trump having people around him like Milo Yiannopoulos. That was one of these kind of characters who was, very provocative and then flamed out, right? Then, after 2020, you had the Jenna Ellises of the world and the Rudys of the world, who Rudy's still hanging around with him. But you had like that sort of cast of characters. Now you have this weirdo cast of characters. It's just he swaps them out with different weirdos who kind of perpetually get more extreme and weird as it goes on. And it never kind of ends well for those people too. If you think of the list, like all those people are kind of broke, lost all their money, have been fired from everything, are hated by Donald Trump now, are, have their law licenses barred. Like it's never like a happy ending story when you put yourself around Donald Trump. As Rick Wilson says, everything Trump touches dies. And that is certainly very true. I do got to give a quick shout out to the Haitian community in New York, though, for coming out strong against Donald Trump and against all these lies. I thought that was super cool to see on Long Island. And I have this picture here that I took that I have of the Haitian Americans there. They had a sign that said, "We don't eat pets, we vote." And, just the issue with all this is that this is just such a reminder of like the old time Jim Crow kind of stuff that has led to Black Americans getting killed throughout history, spreading all these sorts of lies and disinfo. It kills people. It kills people. And now Donald Trump, in spouting the things that he is spouting, the lies that JD Vance is spreading, he is endangering people's lives. He's endangering communities, and it's unforgivable. Like it is really unforgivable. And the only people now who continue to push these lies in these Ohio towns, I'm not just saying this like they're like these people. It literally is the Proud Boys and the Ku Klux Klan. So you got the Proud Boys, you got the Ku Klux Klan, and you got Donald Trump and JD Vance all pushing these lies to try to drive out the Haitian immigrants who are there legally and who saved the town that was about to completely fall apart, like quite literally saved the town. And they're trying to run them out. It is quintessential racism that we are seeing right now. And from a guy who in 2017, speaking of JD Vance, said this: Trump makes people I care about afraid, immigrants, Muslims, etc. Because of this, I find him reprehensible. God wants better of us. I think God would want better of you, JD, as well.
And then JD Vance goes on the weekend shows and he goes, I've been hearing it from my constituents. So Facebook post, whom the person apologized for making a racist, just conspiracy theory up. Proud Boys and the KKK. Those are the constituents.
It's a feedback loop, right, Jay? It's they spread the lies, then the rumors start spreading in the community. Nothing's happened. Nothing's happened. Police have no reports. All the stories are BS. I doubt those people are like. You ever think like I have a problem? I'm going to call my senator. I don't think that's ever happened in the history. But then these people post, all the rumors and whatever, and then it kind of circulates as if it's truth, but it's not truth. It's just completely made up stuff. Even the people who were the people who initially spread it, like Ben said, are now the people going, yeah, no, I made it up. It wasn't a real thing.
So this week there was big economic news. The Fed dropped interest rates. 50 basis points. The stock market hit record highs today. Donald Trump's stock, meanwhile, is absolutely tanking. But everywhere you looked in kind of the MAGA ecosystem, whether you were watching Fox or MAGA Republican Congress members on the House floor, they were pissed that the Fed dropped interest rates. They're pissed that the stock market is doing well. They're saying, how dare the Fed politicize all of this, which the Fed is not doing. This is a long line, though, of attacking good news. And the thing that Donald Trump and these MAGAs have been trying to do over and over again, including as of right now, trigger a government shutdown, is to try to cause harm to we the people. So then in that chaos, they can claim that they want to put out the fire when they're actually the arsonist. We'll talk about this and more, but let's take our last quick break of the show.
Hey everyone, as you know, I'm a dad. So let's talk about something that's really important that most people don't realize. Like, did you know there actually aren't any requirements for baby food companies to test their products for chemical contaminants? 93% of parents are concerned about the presence of toxic levels of heavy metals in baby food. And 95% of parents believe the US needs to raise its standards when it comes to baby food safety. There have been tons of headlines recently unveiling the lack of regulation on baby food in the US, while the European Union has extremely strict standards. Little Spoon, the company known for changing the game for baby, toddler, and big kid foods, is disrupting the baby food industry again with radical transparency when it comes to baby food. Little Spoon is the first and only food brand in the US to set strict limits for more than 500 toxins and contaminants based on the best in-class EU standards. And if their products don't meet these standards, they won't sell it. It's that simple. Peace of mind delivered. They surveyed 2,000 parents across the country so they could understand what parents are most concerned about and help provide peace of mind for their customers. And wow, did they deliver. Look, trust me, I use Little Spoon with Elijah all the time, my son, and he absolutely loves it. I know your kid will love it too. America has literally never seen baby food this transparent. You can see all of Little Spoon's baby food safety standards in detail and shop their products for babies, toddlers, and big kids on littlespoon.com. Get 30% off your first order if you go to littlespoon.com/Meidas and enter our code Meidas at checkout to save 30% off your first order. That's littlespoon.com/Meidas to save 30% off.
I have to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night out with drinks. It's called pre-alcohol. Let's face it, after a night of drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I used to feel like I had to make a choice. I could either have a great night or a great next day. But now, I don't have to choose, thanks to pre-alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's actually this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your next rough day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on getting up early for a workout or handling a busy work day without worry. I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol at first, but then while hanging out with some friends at a rooftop bar, I gave it a shot. I had my first pre-alcohol before my go-to margarita, and the next morning, I felt amazing, just like my normal self, ready to take on the day. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I believe the hype, and with their GMO technology, ZBiotics is working on more products to address other toxic byproducts of modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use the code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. ZBiotics is backed by a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use that code Meidas, MEIDAS at checkout for 15% off.
Let's go. Little Spoon, a brand new sponsor of the MeidasTouch podcast. Elijah, my son, does genuinely love Little Spoon. Could not have come at a better time. definitely check it out. And shout out ZBiotics. ZBiotics they came back on board for Q4, folks. So they're going to be back in here in October. Super excited about that. Links in the description of audio and the YouTube. Click the links, use the codes, and let them know we sent you, Ben.
The contrast between Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on full display, as we've discussed on prior podcasts. One of the major issues, too, is they're graded on different curves. Trump's curve is like a kindergarten curve, which is like essentially if you show up and you try, that will be viewed as, oh my God, A+. Vice President Kamala Harris has to be pitch perfect, or else she didn't detail every single policy about how she's going to do this. I mean, if Vice President Kamala Harris said any of the types of things that Donald Trump says on any given day, it would, she'd be done. Her campaign would be over, literally over. This was Donald Trump from last night on another Fox show, Greg Gutfeld, and Donald Trump believed that he was speaking in front of an audience at the debate where he got destroyed. Here, play this clip.
They even said, but all of them, and they didn't correct her once, and they corrected me everything I said practically, and I think 9 times or 11 times, and the audience was absolutely, they went crazy. And the real, I walked off, I said, that was a great debate. I loved it. You got a lot of people watching. I guess we had 75 million people watching, something like that. And you have to do well. You can't do badly. For instance,
I mean, he did horribly. There was not an audience at the debate. And again, I don't know about all of you. Cohen used the word unpolitical beatdown earlier. He's exhausted. He's America should be, no matter what political party you are. My crowd size is so big. My big crowd sizes, my crowd this, my crowd that. Only me. I'm the best. My crowd this, my crowd that. I could go into all of the other horrific stuff. Yes, he loves Putin, wants to take us out of NATO, horribly mismanaged COVID, said like a miracle it was going to go away. Horrible in every respect. Found liable for sexual assault, convicted felon 34 times over, liable for financial fraud. Yes. And is all of that worse than? Yes. But it is also at some threshold level, it should feel and be I don't care what political party. Why is this guy just talking about this crowd's big? And he always lies about my crowd this, my crowd that. Hannibal Lecter this. I'm going to get eaten by sharks and I'd rather be electrocuted. I just don't want America to be at that level. I don't want America to be graded at the kindergarten scale. I want America to be viewed as an incredible country, a country of opportunity, of love, of innovation, of ingenuity, of immigrants, of bringing people together, of entrepreneurship, of workers, of the middle class, of helping people live the American dream. That's what I want to see in the United States of America. Every day, Vice President Kamala Harris is talking about it too. And so just because on right-wing media, they're oh, she's not detailing the policies. Yes, she is every single day. Every single day she's giving a speech. And just because the media doesn't cover it like we do on the MeidasTouch Network doesn't mean it ain't happening. It is. Here's the one she gave the other day. And guess what? This is yesterday. She ain't talking about Hannibal Lecter. She's talking about helping first-time homeowners buy homes. That's something novel. Here, play this clip.
We need to take that on. We need to lower the cost of housing. We don't have enough housing in our country. The supply is too low, and it's too expensive, both for renters and for folks who want to buy a home. So we will build together millions of new homes and give first-time home buyers $25,000 in down payment assistance. Because look, people just want to get their foot in the door. My mother worked hard. She saved up. It wasn't until I was a teenager that she was able to buy our first home. And the American dream is elusive for far too many people increasingly. And that's why it is part of my perspective that let's just do the work of giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance. Let them get their foot in the door.
Brett, that's actually Jordy. That's actually a policy. And I could show you the rest of that speech, but it all goes on to, I'll show you one more clip from the speech, just so you don't go, okay, Ben, I'm sure it's not all policy. Just pick any random clip, Brett, and I bet you it's about policy.
Wait, she didn't talk about Hannibal Lecter?
She didn't. Just pick. There's.
Sure?
I've loaded 15 clips, so Brett, just pick whatever one you want.
I'm just going to click one. It could be about Hannibal Lecter. It might not be. Let's see.
Just play it.
They would cut Social Security and Medicare. They intend to end the Affordable Care Act and threaten the health care of more than 5 million Latinos in our country. All based on, I'm sure many of you saw the debate, so on that point about the Affordable Care Act, all based on concepts of a plan. Concepts. Their Project 2025 agenda would pull our nation backward. But we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. Instead, together, we will chart a new way forward because ours is a fight for the future.
Brett, a fight for the future, but good economic news today. Would love to hear about it.
Does that mean it's time?
I think it's time.
Drum roll, Jordy.
This is the NetSuite by Oracle Know Your Numbers Minute.
Jordy, I give your drum roll about like a 2 out of 10.
On the screen, big bro.
You know, I usually what you got to do, Jay, is like you tap the table or something, but it's okay. We could get into it without a great drum.
Bone in my body.
That's okay. Understood. Well, this time for the NetSuite Know Your Numbers update. We got big economic news today. Ben, I'm going to mute you because you got a dog barking there in the background. We got big economic news this week, and if you use NetSuite, by the way, I know you're prepared because NetSuite keeps businesses on top of any updates to government policies and allows for the quick adaptation to new policies through their agile system updates. So you probably heard by now the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates by 50 basis points in their first rate cut since March 2020. This was more than most people were expecting. People were hoping for 25 basis points, thinking maybe they'll do 50, but I doubt it. They'll probably start slow. They'll probably start at 25. No, they started at 50 basis points. And Fed officials said that they see 2 more rate cuts of 25 basis points this year, followed by 4 cuts next year and 2 more in 2026. This is a major signal from the Fed that they feel inflation is officially under control, and this is sure to add fuel to the economy. Robert Barone, a wealth advisor and managing director at Farther, said we're probably going to see even some deflation in some months going forward over the next year. Worrying about inflation is probably the thing of the past. He said that this is the beginning of a long series of lowering. So what does this mean for you, for companies? Well, this much anticipated move was going to influence mortgages, credit card rates, saving rates. This is the Fed's key lending rate, basically what it charges banks to borrow, and it sets a base for what companies charge people for loans in the US, like mortgages or other debt or unpaid credit card balances. So essentially, companies are able to borrow debt for less money and reinvest it so they could be more profitable, and interest rates on loans for consumers will continue to decrease. This is going to be much welcome relief for consumers out there and for anyone looking to buy a home and all the other stuff I just said. Stocks surged on the news. The stock market is rising fast. We showed you earlier that the Dow has reached record highs. The Dow hit 42,000 for the first time and closed above 42,000 for the first time today as well. The S&P 500 hit 5,700 for the first time as well, and also closed above that 5,700 mark. If your businesses use NetSuite, it's super convenient because they offer all these tailored reporting features. They allow businesses to focus on specific stock market indicators relevant to your sector. So you get all the macro data, but you also get all the micro data. And thanks to NetSuite for all that info. That's great.
That was the NetSuite by Oracle Know Your Numbers Minute. Do you know your own numbers for your business? Download NetSuite's ultimate KPI checklist right now at netsuite.com/Midas.
And now I just want to speak about something, which is what Ben was getting at earlier, how Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans are always rooting against the United States of America at every opportunity. And so when there was going to be a border deal that was near passing that would have helped things at the border, Donald Trump torpedoed it. That pissed him off. When gas prices came down, as gas prices started to come down, Donald Trump complained that gas prices were coming down. When we had record high energy production here, Donald Trump started lying and saying we didn't, and started saying that it was actually bad. When the Fed cuts interest rates, Fox and Trump and MAGA, they say, oh, that's actually a bad thing. The record high Dow pissed, like all the good things for Americans piss off Donald Trump. And I even saw a clip yesterday that we played in one of our takes, or at least a couple of our takes probably, where JD Vance was asked about the Fed lowering rates. And when the reporter asked JD Vance about it, he was surrounded by a crowd. The crowd booed the Federal Reserve lowering rates, which is a good thing for them. Like, you're booing good things for yourself. Like, I could never even imagine, like, even if Trump were president or any Republican were president, if there was good news that was going to help my life and I boo it, like, it's just the craziest concept ever. It's the craziest. And we need to get past that as a country. And so, of course, now Fox is just ramping up their BS propaganda with all of this. And they are going all in to try to act like this is some political maneuver. By the way, want to hear political maneuver? Donald Trump repeatedly threatened Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell throughout his tenure as president. He repeatedly said that he could fire him, that he didn't like him, that he was a nasty guy because he wasn't lowering interest rates fast enough for Donald Trump back then. Like, he was actively trying to pressure him. And even this year, just a couple months ago, Donald Trump threatened him again and said that if he lowered interest rates before the election, that if Donald Trump became president, he would fire him. He's still threatening him to this day. That is political, but the Fed is not listening to Donald Trump. The Fed is not listening to Vice President Kamala Harris, who has promised that she will keep the Fed independent, as it should be. And they are going by the data. And the data shows that the economy is strong. The data shows that inflation is down, and now it's time to pump some gas on it and really get this thing moving. Fox is like cataclysmic over the fact that the Fed decided to lower rates. This is something that they would be ecstatic about if Donald Trump were president. But here is Larry Kudlow on Fox, who, by the way, worked in the Donald Trump administration and literally has been wrong about everything about the economy for the past 20, 30, 40 years. Like, you name it, like right before the recession in like 2008, 2009, Kudlow was like, we're never going into recession. The economy is great. And then it crashed. Like, you could go back to any point in history and you could find Larry Kudlow being on the wrong side of it. But here was what Larry Kudlow's segment was about the fact that interest rates were being dropped. Good news for Americans. This is how Fox Business, which is supposed to be like a neutral business station in theory, right? Fox Business reported it like this.
So, day after Fed Chairman Jay Powell sent Kamala Harris a 50 basis point election gift and completely contradicted himself on the economy, whatever, the stock market roared. Okay, no matter how political Fed Chairman Jay Powell may be with his 50 basis points election gift to Kamala Harris, the person who helped the American economy the most was Donald Trump.
Who reports on things like this? And then he started going into a whole rant about, it's absurd. And then he starts going into a rant about how horrible Kamala Harris is. That's like the next 5 minutes of that segment. It's insane. This is how Fox reported on the stock market reaching record highs, the Dow crossing over 42,000, the S&P 500 crossing over 5,700. This is how Fox reported on it.
But is this rally here to stay?
Oh, no. This and by the way, the NASDAQ is 700 points from its all-time high. If the NASDAQ doesn't make an all-time high with this news, that is not good. The Dow and S&P, right now, the S&P is at 21 times next year's earnings, assuming $280 of earnings.
Why can't you let us all be happy?
You
We're
can be
all
happy.
making money here.
If you're buying dividend growers, you're going to be fine.
Oh.
But no, this is a very overheated deal, and people should just be aware of what they're paying. They're paying 21 times.
Okay, you think it's going to come down at some point?
Yes, I do.
How much?
I have no opinion about that whatsoever.
But you know it's going to come down.
I think that it's overvalued, Stuart, and it can go higher before it comes lower. But I just think overvaluation always corrects. So I'm making a basic economic statement.
Overvalued on a...
What are we doing here? That's not analysis. This is not analysis, this is propaganda. And by the way, you want to talk about the NASDAQ? Let's look at the 1-year chart for the NASDAQ. I'll pull it up right now. The NASDAQ is up 31.7% over the past year. These people are just propagandists. They have no care for the facts. They have no care for you. They have no care for reality whatsoever. They are purely there to act like a news station, to appear like a news channel, and to deliver propaganda. So when people ask, I don't understand, how could people be so brainwashed? brainwashed? How could people be so fooled into thinking that none of the stuff that Kamala Harris is getting done is getting done? And how could they be so fooled into thinking that Trump is doing all this stuff and not saying all this stuff? It's because of networks like Fox and these various propaganda networks we see on digital media that are spreading lies every day. And Fox is perhaps the most devious because they try to have all the trappings of news. They have the news sets. They have the business channel. They're other brands with the Fox name that are legitimate brands, whether they have different ownership or not, but they have Fox, TV and Fox Business and Fox Movies and Fox all, they act like they are a legitimate thing, and it all legitimizes this new news network, which is just designed to try to make billionaires richer. Like, it's the craziest concept. And then you have people in the middle of America going, yes, I do want to make billionaires richer, because they're fooled by this Fox crap. It's crazy.
And here's the thing. Oftentimes when I'm asked, well, why do you say that if a MAGA person kind of switches now to pro-democracy, even after all they've done, once a MAGA, always a MAGA? And I go, no. I said, look, there are billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars that are invested to provide this type of propaganda to people. And, propaganda becomes a loaded term, just not accurate data. We should all agree that here's the facts. The stock market right now is up about, I won't even call it propaganda, just call it facts, right? The stock market right now is up about 50% from when Donald Trump was in office. The stock market now is doing better. Donald Trump's stock is down about 65 to 70% over the past 6 months alone. If our economy looked like the Trump stock, and if he's supposed to be this great business guy, guess what our country would look like? Mobile morgues. We would have no toilet paper. We would have food lines stretching for miles. And Donald Trump would still be bragging about his ratings while we suffered. Yes, we've lived that world before. We know what that was like objectively when he was in office. For all of these people who tried to make the business argument about Donald Trump, explain to me why the stock market is so much higher right now, why people's 401ks are up significantly, and why the Trump stock is absolutely crashing right now and people are losing their life savings. Explain that to me. Oh, maybe if I look at Trump's history, I will see, and you should all do your own research, that he's always bankrupted almost everything he touched. It was actually in the disclaimer that he gave to shareholders that he was obligated by the SEC to give to shareholders about his past business history. Things that you don't even know. Trump vodka, Trump water, Trump airplanes, Trump University, Trump steaks, Trump mortgage. You name it, it had a Trump thing and it went out of business. And so when Donald Trump was in Michigan recently, and he was giving a speech saying that America needs to stop competing for green jobs because China has us beat and that we should tap out, he says. But he's got the secret remedy, folks. It's called tariffs. And he's going to tariff another country by hundreds of percentage points. He's going to tariff them, not even knowing what a tariff is, that it's a tax on the importer. It's on the American company bringing in the stuff, and all it will do is cause retaliatory tariffs from the other country that will not just screw the imports, it'll screw our exports, and all of the costs will be passed on to the American consumers. We're a tariff nation is just like build the wall and drill, baby, drill. He is a snake oil salesman his entire life. And that's just the data. It's just what it shows. Why has he failed in everything that he's done? If he's so good, why is he always failing? Was that part of the plan? Bankruptcy, 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 bankruptcy. That was all part of the plan? Explain that to me. Trump media crashing, that's part of the plan? No, the part of the plan is that in all of those bankruptcies and even Trump media, he's going to make money off of this crap. While the investors, while the people, while the workers are the ones who get screwed. It's why, with this whole thing with the Teamsters and now all of the local Teamsters unions, especially the ones in the swing states, are endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris, but you had Sean O'Brien, who speaks at the Republican National Convention, basically trot out, and he was trying to do like a beauty pageant, and he wanted, he loved the adulation from Donald Trump. It's like, are you pigs for butchers? Like the Pigs for Butchers party. Donald Trump had a track record of screwing unions. And it's not loaded language. He appointed to the National Labor Relations Board people who were against unions. He spoke with Elon Musk that people who strike deserve to be fired and laughed at them. He told unions, you're picketing for the wrong reasons. His policies were the most anti-union. There's a bill in Congress right now called the PRO Act, which is the most pro-union bill. Vice President Kamala Harris, Democrats support it. Republicans and Trump oppose it. So follow the facts and follow what they do. When Trump's saying no tax on tips, Trump's previous policy was no tips. When he was in office, he wanted to give the tips to the bosses, to the employers. That's his policy. So follow the facts, folks. And that's all we're trying to do here, is to give you as much as possible so you can be informed and you can let others know. Follow the facts, follow the data. I want to leave you with this. Thank you all for your wishes. I've been following them a lot, and my wife is grateful, and she's the one who's been so courageous and so strong. I just wish I have a fraction of her strength. Just want to tell everyone the baby's healthy, she's healthy. The baby's just not ready yet. And so the doctor sent us home after 3 days in the hospital. But I've seen on patreon.com/MeidasTouch a lot of the messages that you've been sending. I read them all. I read them to my wife. So again, just thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And I really appreciate it. Any moment now, I can be back at the hospital. And I want to thank Jordy and Brett for holding it down. Brett's hot takes have been incredible.
Shout out Brett, man.
Yeah, shout out to Brett. I mean, honestly, I just got to admit it. I think your hot takes are better than mine. I'm just going to be honest. I think that Brett's hot takes are better. But, look, the bottom line is that as this network grows and expands, it's great to see Brett and Jordy and others, they've already taken leadership roles in ways that you don't see. Brett behind the scenes is running the operations. And a special shout out to everyone who's holding it down, right? From Salty to Jeremy to Sydney to Hayden to our editorial staff from Ron Filipkowski and Wolfie and Asen and Troy and Aaron and everybody there. Thank you all. You guys are crushing it. And everybody's stepping up. Boston Brian, everybody's been stepping up. Michael Popak, Karen Friedman, Agnifla. Oh, Popak started the new Legal AF channel, by the way, too. You should go and subscribe to the new Legal AF YouTube channel. Popak's doing an incredible job.
I should probably say where you find it, because Ben sometimes gets the URLs wrong and stuff. So it's youtube.com/@legalafmtn. youtube.com/@legalafmtn. It's growing quickly, and Popak's going to Hollywood on us. He's got a cool studio. He switches off with the glasses. It's a whole scene, man.
Popak's fancy guy, man. He's a fancy guy.
I love it. Well, anyway, thank you everyone again from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate you, Midas Mighty. We're going to do an after show now at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Check out store.MeidasTouch.com as well for all of the gear. 100% union made, 100% made in the U.S. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Let's use our power well.